ערב טוב. מה שלומך? את על מיוט.
שלום, ערב טוב.
Hello. Hi, Noah.
Hello, Aniela.
Good evening.
How is everybody? Yeah, okay. Did you have a good week of rejoicing? Yeah, you didn't forget. No. Oh, hello, Netaji. Hey, Nitan, hello. What? How are you? Oh, disappeared again. Okay.
No, accidentally. I'm really happy to see you.
I'm very happy to see you too, like everybody else. Yeah, not that we make jealous people here. With this, we don't want.
No. I'm just happy to be here and happy to see everyone.
Yeah, exactly. It's good to keep contact, isn't it? Even if it's just over the Zoom. I don't know how it is. Do you still have Dharma meetings, like physically? Do you still go?
Yeah. Once in 2 weeks, once a month, we try to meet.
Great. Yeah.
But it's hard. It's hard to start back again. Everything.
Yeah. It's difficult, isn't it? Yeah, it's the same everywhere. People have gotten so used to Zoom. You know, it's so practical in a way. You can just stay home. You turn on the computer. Dharma is delivered home. Then when you switch off, you're already at home. So this is so that I think that's one reason. And also, of course, it's good for the environment that nobody has to take the car to go somewhere. So that's one good thing. But then the other one is like Dharma friends maybe it's not so pressing because they don't have a place where they have to pay rent. Even nothing is happening, right? They only pay whatever they rent. And I guess Shantideva is the same, isn't it? You go to the meditation factory.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And so, but centers here, you know, they have to pay rent whether something is happening or not because they're renting it the whole year. So it's kind of becoming quite financially quite difficult for them to survive. And some of them even asked the question, well, is it worthwhile to have a physical center? Shall we just do on Zoom? So then, of course, everybody says, oh, no, but we do need a center, but then still they don't come. So, you know, it's like they want a center, but they're not coming. But then also if I ask them, so why are you not coming? They have very good reasons not to come because here where I am in the mountains, people live quite far away. So they all have to come by car. And, you know, even me, when I go there, I have to walk 20 minutes to go to the train station. Then, because there's no bus, then I have half an hour until I'm in the town where the center is. It's a small town. Then I have another 20 minutes, half hour until I'm in the center to walk. So a good thing I like walking. And sometimes somebody comes from around here and then we go by car. But so, and some other people just don't find the time. They're totally exhausted and, so they get whatever they can on Zoom. And so at least they get something. And, so it will be, I don't know how it will continue with the physical Dharma centers. I really don't know, unless it's, really big center where you have resident Tibetan Geshe or even a Rinpoche being there, or it will continue just like the Dharma Friends are doing since years, that they don't have a physical center, but when a teacher comes, that they rent places and then people can go. And it's definitely, there's so much joy, meeting in person. So it's really worthwhile the trouble. So,
yeah, I wish we can meet. I wish you will come here again and we will meet in person.
Today yesterday I got the third shot, the third vaccination. So I just sent a letter to Shachar asking him, well, what do you think? Should I come on the 11th of December or on the 18th? So we just have to maybe make strong dedications again that Switzerland is not becoming a red country because our infections are going up really, really fast. We have again 4,000 a day. So, and they will say like in 1 week it will double, and Israel is already threatening to close up again for countries where there's a lot of thing. And then also, I'm quite stressed, I have to say, because with all these forms that I have to fill out on the internet, because when I came home from the vaccination yesterday, I noticed that my name was not correct on the certificate. I thought, oh no. So then, until you find the place where they can do something about this on the internet, it really takes quite a while. And so then this morning I got a message from them saying, well, you have to do this and this and this. So I started doing it, but then I couldn't find the code. I couldn't download what had been done yesterday. And I don't know how it is with you, but I get stressed so quickly. These machines, they have such a power over me when I have to fill out forms. I mean, this is crazy. And then I tell myself, come on, you have time. You have the whole day to find that code. Why are you stressed? And then I think, oh, it will disappear. And then I can't start again. Can
we work on it here? I need tools in that point.
I feel exactly like you.
Yeah,
yes,
right.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay, so that's one good thing. Working on it is one good thing. I am not the only one. And then to be really aware and to be really conscious and say, okay, so if that doesn't work, then maybe I can do this or go and ask help or whatever, but consciously to calm down, to start to breathe, consciously calm down, tell yourself, okay, never do this when you are in a hurry anyway. So, and then we have to remind ourselves that we have time. And if it doesn't work, you call Nitzan. He understands these things. So, or somebody else who is nearby. So it's good to have somebody that you can phone and you can say, oh, I got stuck here. What can I do? And then I used to have one in Bern, and then we do screen sharing. So he takes over the screen and I just relax, and then usually he was able to figure it out. But it's just, I think also just to see the power these things have over us is calming us down to kind of almost say like, I don't want to have this thing to have so much power over me, and then to get to self-confidence and say, come on, it's just a machine. And until now, everything kind of I was able to figure out. It just takes time. And unfortunately, we have this habit, and now I say we because Noah was nodding and Netta was nodding. Unfortunately, we have this habit that we think that when we get stressed, it will be better, isn't it? It's a kind of an instinct from the reptile brain or something, which has nothing to do with reality, isn't it? Okay, so let's do some reflection again, just awareness, learning to accept the way we are. And still think, still be proud also. I mean, you're not, Nita, you're not so old. But I mean, the people 70 and above still be thinking, hey, I can use a mobile phone. I can go into the internet. It's not so evident, when you're old to be able to do these things. And to rejoice about that one and not to be so demanding that we should be able to do everything perfectly right. And of course, also these forms and all this, they don't always work the way we want them to work. That's another thing. They have flaws, like, they're stuck or they don't work or you press the wrong button or whatever. So let's just think about this and still be grateful to all these machines that we have. Instead of just seeing the stress, to also think about the possibilities that we have because of these machines, that not to think just about the machines, but that there's a lot of human beings are standing behind this, who invented this, who work on it to make it better. And also to see how dependent we have become. And then see if these kind of thoughts can relax us a bit. At least we know how to turn on the Zoom. Come on. Fantastic, isn't it? And then you connect with your body. Connecting means you are aware of it. You know that the body is sitting, and you will feel a difference from knowing directly unmistakenly and just, not being aware, fully aware, consciously aware of body sitting. And you just stay there and you see that just that gives us a bit more space, a bit more clarity. When there is space, then there is more clarity. Then also now, again, from my example, because I didn't sleep so well, also, because I had the vaccine, so I don't feel so, I don't feel bad, but I don't feel so well. So almost obsessively repeating kind of sentences, because I thought, well, if the internet doesn't work, I'll have to go back to the center where they make the vaccine. So kind of obsessively repeating the sentence, what I will say. Then it's really good to see the motivation behind it. Why do we rehearse obsessively one sentence, which is really simple? What's the purpose of that? And then we might be able to discover, because we want to have control. We think, if I say the right sentence, and I know that well, the other person will then do what I want them to do. Come on, they're there to do the vaccine, not to correct form. But this was kind of my fantasy. Then we let go and we remember samsara. Samsara happens because we make cognitive mistakes. Because we, for example, we think that we could have control. We think that we can have security. It's just an illusion. Because it all depends on our karma. We forget. And also when we notice that we are stressed or angry or frustrated, angry at ourselves. But to say, hey, come on, this is normal. As you can see, I'm not the only one getting stressed when things don't work, or when I don't know where to find the code. It's good that when it's finished, we can laugh about it, even if it didn't work. Because if we don't have that love and compassion towards ourselves, we cannot work with these unhelpful emotions in a skillful way. So then the last verse we did last week, maybe we can reflect on that a bit. Because it was like rejoicing about having a human mind and a human body. And with such a human mind and a human body, we have so many resources that animals don't have. Okay, you can also say, if an animal wants to cross the border into Israel, probably couldn't because it's a fence or a wall. But if he could cross the border, he wouldn't need a COVID certificate. But we don't want to be animals just to cross the border, because what is an animal doing then in the other country? So to really rejoice that we have this wonderful mind where we can figure things out. We need patience, yes. And as we get older, it takes more time. And frustration and stress and even fear very easily as you get older. Fear of not being good enough. It also comes from, the fact that we want to be perfect. We want to know everything. We could know everything, but not what our mind is projecting, because that's illusion. You cannot grasp an illusion. You have to go deeper. The deep, deep yearning that we all have for well-being, for not being under the control of these unhelpful emotions, for not being selfish, for example. We do have a yearning. Nobody kind of cultivates or trains to be selfish. So try to connect with that yearning. And think, this is why I'm practicing, to bring this yearning to the surface. And this yearning is our very basic wisdom that we all have, that we can never lose, calling us. And we have the possibility to free ourselves from suffering and the causes of suffering. This is why we're studying, listening, meditating, reflecting on these things. Isn't that wonderful? We have interest. We have what is called a precious human rebirth. It becomes precious when we use it to go against the unhelpful emotions like anger, attachment, desire, jealousy, ego-centeredness. Each of those have antidotes, and we can apply them. And they can be eliminated. And love, compassion, and wisdom is innate in the mind. They're mental factors that we can never lose. Sometimes they're just very covered. So when wisdom is operating and functioning, like seeing the ultimate side of things, the ultimate nature, and we maybe just remember, even if it's just intellectually, hey, it appears like being terrible, but it's not. Don't grasp, don't fixate. When it's just intellectually that thought, that ultimately it's all empty. This is why we can change it. Then the wrong views have no chance. I think it's really important that we strengthen that self-confidence that we can end suffering and the causes of suffering, not by changing the world, but by changing our mindset. Not expecting others to do it, but just do it ourselves. Let go of wanting to control other people. And then we open up the heart. What we did until now is kind of remembering that we have wonderful methods from the Buddha who lead to a state which is free from suffering and the causes of suffering, and we have interest in this or trust. That's wonderful. It's called taking refuge. And then we open up our heart and we think, but I'm not the only one here. Hello? Everybody is under the control of pleasure, unhelpful emotions. All these beings I'm totally dependent on for my worldly stuff, and especially for my spiritual things, like the Sangha, for example. What would I do without the Sangha? I mean, even if it's just one person that we talk about Dharma, we can exchange ideas, we can encourage each other. We see that, again, you know, there's other people who are interested in this. Isn't that wonderful? We can support each other. So in order to apply these methods, we need other people. And then we think about the, you know, the wonderfulness. I know it's not an English word, but it's okay. Of the Mahayana Dharma, that we don't have to choose who we would like to kind of guide or benefit into a state which is free from suffering and causes of suffering. We don't have to choose, because it's all sentient beings, because we've had contact with all of them. Why be so fixated on just one lifetime? This I like, this I don't like, this one. Why? And we can really start to think, all of these beings have been kind to me in one way or the other, and not just one time, many times in my millions and billions of lifetimes. Why do I take myself so bloody important? This is another thing that I saw, you know, and I thought, oh, I go to the vaccination center, they will then have to do something about it. I thought, like, come on, you know, there's like people coming, going the whole day. Why do you think you're the most important one? But it's such an instinct that we have. And just by remembering it, hey, I'm not the only one. They don't have to take care of me now when I arrive. I can think, may all beings who go there be taken care of the way that they would like to be taken care of. May all beings be able to discover their Buddha nature. live a life without pain, without suffering, having eliminated all negative emotions. Why do I only want this for me and for my friends or the people I like? Try to savor that, all beings. You can say it in Hebrew if you want. And feel how the mind expands and relaxes, because we don't have to choose. This is so wonderful. It's so simple. All beings discovered it with the nature, be able to live. And may I be able to guide them to that state. For that, I have to attain liberation and full awakening. Otherwise, I'm just turning round and round and round in samsara, filling one form after the other and getting stressed again and again and again. Renunciation. I am sick and tired to be under the control of my unhelpful emotions. They're not my nature. I don't have to be angry with myself. I don't have to feel ashamed or hide them. I only have to understand this is what is creating the suffering. Not the people outside, not the situation outside. Sorry if I frightened you. I kind of put the rubber around that thing here, but somehow I'm not able to hit it properly. I always hit the wood. I didn't want to frighten you. Okay, so anybody wants to share maybe a little bit about the week of rejoicing that you had, instead of, as usual, thinking about death and dying, you were able to rejoice about your human life? You don't have to hold up your hand, Aurelia. You can just open your microphone and say, that's fine.
Well, actually, if it's okay for me to share something which is not rejoice, it's exactly the opposite.
So
I've been very preoccupied and very pensive. Long story short, yesterday something happened. And while it was happening, I was thinking Dharma, take it differently. And a certain situation which was very upsetting. And while thinking Dharma, instead of getting angry and upset and all fired up like I used to, and wow, bravo for me, I did not yesterday, something, a negative seed came up yesterday, and I was so surprised. I suddenly felt hatred to this person. And I usually don't feel hate because it's a very, very strong, difficult feeling, not even to my enemies, I really don't. And I've been having a very hard time since yesterday with myself. Good for you. You control the anger seed, but suddenly the seed of hatred, I'm not upset with myself, but I'm upset with myself for feeling that. And I'm not going to even tell you that I am so right to feel that way I do. It has nothing to do. I could not manifest compassion. I was so filled with anger and with hate. And while I was aware, I was in the hate.
Yeah, but Aurelia, sorry, I'm cutting you, but you are manifesting compassion because you want to be rid of it. Are you still there? This is compassion. We don't, you know, compassion is, sometimes we mistake compassion, I think, for, oh, poor thing, me, I'm feeling hatred. It's not like this. It's you want to be rid of it. That's it. This is compassion. You know, it has causes. And why does hatred arise? I mean, hatred arises when we have these imprints, these habits that, you know, the potential that lie on our mind stream. And then when the right object out there comes, the object is the basis. The object outside is not the cause. The cause is a past moment of hatred. Maybe not in this life, but in past life. And when it hits, it's like a seed that you put in the ground and it's warm and you put water, the seed will ripen. But then we can do something about it. The mind will still turn, you know, but what you can do, and this is what especially this chapter is about, is not to collaborate with your klesha. The klesha, you have no control. Klesha, like negative emotions, anger, attachment, desire, jealousy, pride, blah, 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 blah. It will arise. But what we can do is it doesn't kick us into actions of body or speech. You see, hatred, if you don't have compassion for yourself, if you're not aware of it, you can kill somebody because your body gets out of control, or you can really abuse somebody verbally, which you might have done, I don't know. Yeah. But our job is, and that's something we can do, that of course we have so many of these negative imprints still lying on our mind stream. You know, we underestimate. I think at one point it was Geshe Tekchok who said, yeah, you know, you have oceans and oceans of these imprints on your mind. And this is why purification practice is very important, but we don't find it so interesting, isn't it? Because we don't, you know, we don't see so that we have so many. So when hatred arises, it's okay to just apply the 4 opponent powers. You kind of go, oh shit, this is not what I want. Thank you very much. And already, you know, you're not kind of in it because you see what's going on. I think the mistake that we're making is that we think with awareness, with compassion, blah, it all goes away. Nothing goes away. These negative emotions will go away when we have realized emptiness directly, but they will decrease because we're not creating more imprints. We're not creating more seeds by reacting verbally and physically. Okay, and with your hatred also, of course, you know, 1 hour, 2 hours, but these things are impermanent as the moment we don't fixate on them. Because also when you try to push them away, you know, you give them a lot of strength. Like you make them very real. This is our problem. We make them inherently existing. Whoa, this is bad. No, it's just, you know, it's a dynamic process in our mind state. So then looking for who is angry, that's sometimes quite helpful. You know, when you try to find the I who is hating. Yeah, and of course the first thing is always you take away your mind from the object, because leaving your mind with the object is like pouring kind of petrol on the fire instead of water. It's so difficult sometimes because you see, the problem is we are attached to this emotion because they make us somebody important. You see, when you're just calm and kind and you're not rebelling and you're not saying anything, you become boring. But this is what we want to be, believe it or not. Buddhism will make you a very boring person. You know, there's this book by Ayakima. I think it was the first Buddhist book I read. It's called Being Nobody Going Nowhere. But we don't want to be nobody because we don't see the bliss of being a nobody. Because when we feel like a nobody, we feel like especially bad and especially nobody. You know, again, instead of just saying, yeah, I'm not the only nobody around. You know, there's lots of others nobodies there. We are then, I'm the worst of the worst, which is again some kind of arrogance. Yeah. So don't make the mistake by thinking just applying some antidotes and just applying some awareness, your kleshas will not bother you anymore. I'm sorry, this is not how it will be. But you will get a handle on them as you continue to practice. And as you continue to practice, whether you want or not, you create positive karma. If you have positive karma ripening, you will feel well. You see, when we don't feel well and when things don't go the way we want them to go, do we really instinctively think, oh, wow, phew, negative karma ripening, maybe I better do some purification practices while the thing is still there, while the emotion is still there? We forget. We blame the other person outside, isn't it? Yeah, who made this stupid form that I can't even find the code to put it in? You see, and then you get angry at the form. You know, it's just ridiculous. I get angry at the computer, you know, not even thinking that somebody made it. So when you feel hatred, then it's really good to apply the 4 opponent powers immediately by seeing, oi, kind of, you know, not shame, not guilt, just say, me? I would say shit, but, you know, some of you are a bit more polite than I am, and you have nicer language. I would just say, shit, you know, again, what's going on here? And to have a conversation with myself. That's the regret. I don't want this. I don't want to be like this. And then, what's next one? So then you take refuge, for example. Hey, Buddha, come on, please. Where are you? Protect me. Tara, you know, or Chenrezig. There's this beautiful prayer to Chenrezig, which it's from King Songtsen Gampo, where he, you know, he asked Chenrezig from protection from to act when there's negative emotions present. So sometimes, because I read this prayer almost every Saturday with the people who do with me you know, there's this prayer-thon. I think I already told you about it. It's the IMI. It's Lama Zopa Rinpoche's monks and nuns who every Saturday do this prayer of Tongton, no, what's his name? Tongtong Gyalpo for the COVID since it started. And each one of us does half an hour. So each one of us also adds like another practice. And I always do this prayer. And sometimes I actually remember in the middle of something, I actually remember and go, yeah, Chenrezig, please protect me from this danger, you know. Or Tara also, we can ask her to ask protection. Please protect me from this hatred, that I'm not acting it out. Not for the hatred to go away. You know, the more you're not working, how to say, directly with the hatred, the less you make it solid and strong. The more you watch its process, the more you watch, how does it feel? Is it hot? Is it cold? Is it pushing? Is it pulling? The more you see the dynamics of it, and the more you see it comes, it goes, it comes, it goes, it comes, it goes. So, and then it will go, but then it will come again, you know. And why does it come again? Because of our obsessive thoughts. So you take refuge, you generate bodhicitta. Hey, I'm a bodhisattva. I want to be a bodhisattva. You know, as I say, this whole thing about bodhisattva principle, it has to come from your side. You have to be quite clear what you want. Do I just want a comfortable life and force everybody to do what I want them to do because I have power, I have knowledge, I have fame, I have skills, whatever? Or do I really want to be a benefit to others? Hatred and bodhicitta doesn't go well together. See, when you think like this, without pushing and without judging yourself, then it loses its strength, this whole thing. So that's bodhicitta. Then, you know, applying an antidote, say mantras, Om Mani Padme Hum, for example, then your speech is protected. And at the end, you think, oh, go, oof. First of all, if you haven't reacted through the hatred with your speech or with your body, be very happy. I succeeded not to say anything.
That's why I almost exploded yesterday, because I controlled my mouth and I was aware of what was going inside. Yeah. So I controlled my mouth.
It's painful. It's very painful. And this is what Shantideva will talk about in the next chapters here. You know, Dharma practice can be very painful. But when we know why we bear the pain in order to avoid future pain. Whereas if you explode and you say something, you don't bear the pain of almost exploding. You're still here. You haven't exploded. So it's fine. I'm happy that you're still here. So it's like, if you explode, what do? You know, you just prolong the suffering again and again and again and again and again. So when we feel pain in the Dharma practice, it's worthwhile. And let's look at the verses, because it's exactly the verses that come now. Where is it? Here. And we can, you know, again, Dharma practice should not be, you know, what's it called? Blood, sweat, and tears. Especially this chapter, okay? This chapter is joyous effort. So when we constantly look at the result, we know, ooh, it's very far away and we have a long way to go, right? Then we also invest a bit more time in this whole thing. And bearing the pain is okay. I mean, how many of you do sports, like serious sports? Okay, it's painful, isn't it? Yeah. Yeah. You know, and especially if you're not trained, the joy of doing sports, and I'm talking about surfing, skiing, you know, not just pleasantly swimming in the ocean. That's not sports, sorry. Sport that hurts, running, marathon, stuff like that, okay? Climbing rope.
Yoga, I'm doing yoga.
Okay, yoga, yeah, I think also. Because yoga also, you have to stretch your borders. So or even gym, you know, fitness center. At the beginning, it hurts. Why do you continue to do it? Because you want the pain? Why?
No, you know the benefit, the future benefits.
We know the benefit. How do we know the benefit? And this may be, you know, this is why it's so important to have inspiring teachers around us. So when I was small and I couldn't ski. So first of all, my dad would take me, you know, between his legs, and he would put me down when it was straight. And then when it was kind of going like this, he lifted me up. And already then I experienced the wonderful feeling of knowing how to ski. So I had interest in learning, and I fell and I fell and I fell down and I fell down. But I picked myself up and I continued to train. Why? Because I wanted to know how, and because I saw other people having a lot of fun. So when we see our realized masters, like His Holiness the Dalai Lama, Lama Zopa Rinpoche, Tsogni Rinpoche, Jokinima Rinpoche, who do you know? Who did you have in Israel? Demalocho Rinpoche, Chado Rinpoche. When you see their joy, and you see that their life is difficult because they have to sort out everybody's problem, especially when there's a conflict in the Sangha, you know, and other things. And they're refugees in a way, they're Tibetan. But when we see how they deal with the problems and how joyful they are, this is what should inspire us by saying, okay, they were bearing the pain of practicing Dharma in order to get to that state where there's joy now. And it's exactly like sports. If you give up after the first time because you have aches everywhere, you know, you're not going to get anywhere. Whereas if you are inspired, if you have the trust that if they can do it, I can also do it, then that will make you bear the pain of almost exploding, of not saying anything when you're full of hatred. And then the hatred goes. You know, comes back, but it will go because you're not feeding into it. But at the moment, you know, if you go like, I don't want this hatred, it's like, there's no chance. There's no chance. Yeah? Okay, so Shantideva here is saying, like verse 14 we did last time, relying upon the boat of human body, free yourself from the great river of pain. It's only with this precious human rebirth that we can do it, otherwise no way. As it is hard to find this boat again, this is no time for sleep, you fool. Meaning you should, of course, sleep. There's a bit later on, there's a verse, the 4 powers also is, one of them is rest. When you're really tired, you need to sleep. But you go to sleep with, I go to sleep with bodhicitta. You wake up with bodhicitta. You can train. I have, like, in this studio where I am, a very small altar, but there's a picture of His Holiness, the picture of my teacher. First thing I do, I say hello to them in the morning. Good morning. Oh, it's so nice. And they remind me of my practice. And it has become a habit, right? I need to be in a really bad state if I don't do it. And then if I forget to say good morning, but then I do the altar, I do the offerings, then of course I remember. Then I make a cup of tea for them and for me. And so I start today with, and may I be of benefit to somebody. It can become a habit. And at the same time, when we go to sleep, to be grateful for a bed, a roof over your head, no bombs falling on your roof or on your house for the moment, and maybe think about these people in Belarus at the border at the moment. I think you've seen the images also. People from Afghanistan and Syria who get let into Belarus so that they can then go to Europe. And they're all standing there at the border. You've seen the pictures, haven't you? No? Hundreds, if not thousands of people, because it's Lukashenko's kind of policy, is to let them in. They can come into his country, but they, of course, who wants to stay in Belarus? Nobody who doesn't have to. And so they want to go through Poland to Germany or to England, but the Polish army is not letting them in. So they're camping every night outside, and it's cold in Europe now. And, some of them are injured, beaten, and all this. So when we go to bed in a nice, warm bed, then we go like, wow, this is my positive karma ripening, that I'm not in that, on that fence in Belarus. So I have this human rebirth. How do I want to use it, right? To remind ourselves again and again and again, how do I want to use it? And slowly the mind is going in that direction, slowly, right? Okay. Having rejected the supreme joy of the sacred Dharma, this is a boundless source of delight. So only Dharma practice, and we're going to discuss this now. What is Dharma practice? Only Dharma practice leads to delight, leads to be able to fulfill that yearning that we have to be free from suffering and the causes of suffering. Why am I distracted by the causes for pain? Why do I enjoy frivolous amusements and the like? So it's attachment to frivolous amusements. What would you call a frivolous amusement, and what would you call Dharma practice? Question to you. You don't have to be very eloquent. It's our laziness to be attached to sense pleasures. I think we already talked about this a little bit. We are attached to things that are totally meaningless. And when does it become meaningless? You remember that you see the difference between something that is meaningful and meaningless?
Maybe to be busy for being busy, or just to do stuff without any motivation, just for fixing stuff over and over again, something really...
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for example. Yeah.
You told us then that it was make me thinking also, if it's a long-term benefit, exactly, or it's immediate benefit.
It's a bit the same as Nitzan is saying, but it's a more elaborate kind of. You see, things seem to be meaningful, but they're only meaningful for this life, right? Now, it doesn't mean you have to neglect your life. You don't pay your bills anymore, and you're not earning money in a job, and you're not educating your children and all this. I'm not saying that, but not all the resources and the energy and the interest going there. But also meaningful it becomes when we think about next life, when we think about liberation, when we think about enlightenment. Then it becomes meaningful. So big question now is, what is Dharma practice? Question to you. What would you call Dharma practice? Turning on the Zoom, sitting in front of it and listening to Dharma teachings the whole day. Then you're a very good Dharma practitioner. Is that it?
For me, is like changing negative habits. I think connects me with the Dharma. Yeah. But it's so difficult, so frustrating.
I don't know why we're always surprised when we find out it's so difficult, because everybody tells us it's very difficult. Even the Buddha said, you know, conquering your own mind is more difficult than to conquer an army of 1,000 people. Wow. So we shouldn't be surprised, and we should be happy that we're still doing it, that we're not discouraged, you know. And the discouragement goes when we keep thinking about the potential that we have. When you connect to this yearning again and again and again, I want to be happy. I want to be free from suffering. I want to lead others to that state, right? And this is why we have Dharma talks, and this is why we read the books, and this is why we listen to YouTube teachings, or we go to Dharma gatherings, whatever, because it reminds us of it. And every time we're reminded, then again we make a kind of a decision. Yeah, I will pay more attention. 5 minutes later, we already forgot, you know, because it's too hard, it's too difficult, because we kind of underestimate the pain of practicing Dharma. You know, I don't know if you do, when you do Guru Puja, one of the verses says, please bless me to stop seeing this samsaric life as a pleasure grove. So the thing is, at the moment, we have a lot of positive karma, so we have the conditions to find worldly pleasure. And the problem is then we get attached to the feeling of pleasant, and we don't want to bear the suffering anymore. And don't forget, you know, Dharma practice should be joyful. As I said, shouldn't be blood, sweat, and tears. And the Buddha's methods, because Buddha has compassion, wisdom, and skillful means. Remember the quality of a Buddha. So the Buddha has skillful means actually he will, with these methods, with the least possible effort, but we have to make some effort, we will attain the highest possible goal. So how can we think that this will be painless? How can we expect that?
Anila, it's so tempting for me to stop in this question. I don't know if it's really related. It is related, but thinking about life which is meaningful as opposed to not meaningful, I think it's such a wide question. It's all pervasive in everyone, and it's crucial here. To stop to reflect on it, even if you don't, because it's very paradoxical, because you think about future results, but it makes you live in the present fully.
Yet the future gets shaped in the present. Future lives we are creating now. But again, Netta, I'm not sure if it's so paradoxical and if it's so difficult. If we do things with bodhicitta, you know, then everything starts to make sense. And then when we, you know, then people say, oh, okay, I can watch a stupid movie and think I do this with bodhicitta. Yeah, very soon you will notice this is not true. And very soon you will lose interest in that stupid movie. But also movies can be watched with bodhicitta or something like that. But it can be an excuse. So whether it's really bodhicitta or not, this depends on you. You know, a movie, for example, can be seen as something to train the mind to see when we're totally immersed in the movie and our emotions go with it, you know. I mean, when people suffer in the movie, I can't watch. I have to turn it off. Even I know that it's still a movie, I cannot watch because I also know, or I am, I kind of imply that it happens in real life. On top of it, children being abused and stuff like this. I can't watch this. And it's like, but then we can see how, even though we know it's just a movie, how the mind can then get totally sucked into it and go along with its emotion. You see what I mean? So we see the power of the mind. So we're not getting sucked into something anymore that we think is real by seeing how the mind projects. That's what you can use a movie for example. But then, if you watch movies all the time, I mean, make half, maybe don't just go, okay, no more movies or no more this or no more that. Yeah. It's like, don't expect too much and don't be too harsh on it. Right? Does that make sense, Netta? This is why I'm asking, what is Dharma practice? It is as Nitzan is saying, when we start to see our negative emotions and we start to apply antidotes to them. And it doesn't mean they will go away immediately and that we understand, oh, I do have to realize emptiness directly if I don't want them to arise anymore. So, giving a beggar some money, which again, I forgot today, I did give him money, yes, but I forgot to think, one day may I give you Dharma, then I will lead you to enlightenment. I was kind of going, oh, I'm sorry, I only have a few coins. And he would say, hey, it's fine, it's okay. So he probably felt that I was really sorry. To give, when we give with kindness, for example, and with the thought, hey, this man, he allows me to practice generosity. So he makes my future enlightenment possible. What I should have thought about filling out the form, this form is allowing me to practice patience. So thank you, my dear form. Now I will be able to practice patience. And to really rejoice when we see we are applying these methods with awareness, knowingly, fully conscious. You see, following our negative emotions, this is meaningless because it leads to lower rebirth. Applying antidotes. Do you remember ethical conduct? Ethical conduct is also, I see a mosquito, I want to kill it, and I go, no. That is ethical conduct, abstaining from harming others. If we do it consciously, it creates a lot of positive karma. We should never forget that. Whenever we have the possibility to steal and we don't do it, it creates positive karma if we do it consciously. That is meaningful. Working with our pleasure, skillfully, gently, understanding that they are just energy. We don't feed them, they will fizzle out. Does that make sense? So kind of again, with this whole bodhicitta, bodhisattva ideal here, you need to check yourself, what is important for me? And here in this verse, he talks especially about pleasures. And so pleasure is the pleasure of the senses. And you see with pleasure, we are very cultured people. So, some people will hate me for saying this. Why am I distracted by the causes for pain? Why do I enjoy frivolous amusements and the like? So what would you call it? I did ask you, what would you call a frivolous amusement?
What is frivolous?
Frivolous means, a bit like this kind of. Anybody knows the Hebrew word? Useless, kind of. Useless, but innocent. Frivolous is kind of, it's selfish, but it's not really harming somebody. And useless.
Maybe.
Huh?
When you're being foolish, maybe
Foolish?
better understood.
Doesn't really go that far. Frivolous has a touch of joy.
Hedonism, maybe?
Huh?
hedonism, how do you say? No,
Hedonism. Okay, being attached to sense pleasure. So you see, we're not turning away from the Dharma, isn't it, as it says here? We're not rejecting the Dharma. But the thing is, because we need so many sense pleasures and so many resources and so much time go into it, we don't have time for the Dharma. So we're not rejecting it, of course not. But we all of us, we say, oh, I could practice a bit more. I could be more conscious in developing bodhicitta and so on. Yeah, what do you think? You know, many people say, like, for example, Dharma is also sitting down every day and just watch your mind 5 or 10 minutes. This is so important. But many people say, I don't have time. I mean, but then these frivolous activities, you find time for those. For example, you always find time to eat. Maybe 1 day or 2 days, you don't have time to eat. Okay, but the third day you start eating.
But
How
we
can
think
How can you
that
have time
the-
for meditation in the morning or in the evening or whenever?
I think we think those frivolous activities, pleasures, enjoyments, they are like sustaining us.
Mm-hmm.
And they make us like not suffer. They make us more happy, less stressed, more even.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not really true. Like I get cognitively, I understand what you're saying, but as a habit, I all the time need lots of stuff to make me stable, make me happy, and yeah, like Shantideva says, it's
Yeah. Nitsa and me also. Cognitively, I know what I'm saying. Habitually, but not quite there yet. But we're working on it, so that's okay. Don't be too hard on yourself. This is very important. What is the problem about these frivolous amusements? What is the problem about those? This is what we have to think about. Because, we think it's innocent, spending a lot of time going to the beach, surfing, going to the museum, because museum, see, again, it's a cultural thing, and it's, it is considered a good thing, to know about artists and this and that, movie actors and books and all this, isn't it? It's considered in society, you become somebody important when you can contribute in these discussions. Me, since years, I have no idea what's going on anymore. And I feel bad. I still feel bad when when people around me, when I go and see people, or we have dinner or lunch somewhere and they start talking about actors and movies and all this, I haven't been to movie theaters for, 30 years or something. Doesn't mean I don't watch movies. I watch them on TV, but there's like stupid stuff. So I still feel something is lacking if I cannot contribute with this very cultured conversation here. You see that we make distinction. Frivolous is something that is very low in a way, eating chocolate or, so no, it's just also, it can also be going to the museum, but it's difficult. I know that some people will hate me for that when I say, why do we need all to know who painted this picture and that picture? Did you hear today? I heard this morning in the radio. It's one of my vices also in the morning. I always listen to the news. A painting of Frida Kahlo was sold at Sotheby's for 35 million. The one when she has the third eye here? So she said, Diego and me. So it's like, So, can you imagine what could be done with these $35 million or euro or whatever? How you could help, in a way. No, you buy a picture. So we're not judging these people. It's their stuff, but maybe it's also good to see where is my money going. Yeah. And again, not spending a lot of money can also be poison because you're stingy. You don't want to spend your money. You want to have it in your bank account. So this is where Dharma it becomes Dharma practice when we start to check, why am I doing this? As Nitzan was saying, to check the motivation. Am I learning, when I just buy something, am I learning to really be generous with my money, even if it's for myself, or am I just squandering it? You know, what is called Black Friday is coming up. In Switzerland now, they kind of set, you know, these organizations, they send out petitions you can sign that we should abolish Black Friday. I'm sure none of you is interested in Black Friday. Yeah, it's good to be honest, you know, to see, because I bought the new computer not so long ago. The thought I had this morning, oh, maybe I should have waited until Black Friday. But then, no, you have it, you're happy with it, so that's okay. So let go, you know, this is it, you have it. And sometimes also with the money, you see, I mean, we regret having spent money or lost money or something like that. And we don't even rejoice that somebody made some profit. You know, we allowed somebody to make profit. It's always I should make the profit, but not the other one. So do you ever feel that you're suffering in your Dharma practice? Like, you know, like Ariella was saying, she was almost exploding. So that's definitely suffering. Have you ever felt like you suffer? Yeah, me also. So then, but when, you know, when the pain or whatever is over, how do you feel afterwards? When you see, oh, great, I didn't say this horrible word, or I didn't hit the person. I didn't, you know, I didn't say anything unpleasant or whatever. How were you feeling afterwards? Did you think, oh, why didn't I say this unpleasant word?
For me, I feel great. I feel like I became a little bit mature, like
exactly.
One step ahead.
Yeah, exactly. And then, you know, then it will be, as we continue, as Noah says, because Noah, I know she has a very good guide in Alon Per, who is, you know, that he's kind of doing lojong and lojong and lojong and lojong with them all the time. It's kind of practice, practice, practice. Reduce your ego, even if it hurts. Do it, you know, like this. So then you get, it's like with sports, you get good of it, and then the joy will come because you see it works. Okay, it hurts. It will still hurt. It will still hurt to go against our wishes and to go against our ego. But then there will be joy, and it's worthwhile. So Netta, I'm not sure if I'm making myself clear with this meaningful and meaningless. Having children, having a family, perfectly okay. Going with the family to kids' parks, to, you know, to go to the beach with them. Of course, why do you go? Because you go because of them, because you want them to have joy. You see what I mean?
Yeah, I think it's not the beach, it's not the playground, it's really, really the mind which is going there to all those places, because it can be very meaningful going to the beach and doing a reflection, or
if it can be very meaningful to go to the beach when you enjoy it and you go like, oh, may all beings enjoy this sensation that I have now. If somebody steals your purse while you're in the water, instead of getting upset, you go like, oh, may the thief not have to endure big negative karma because of stealing my stuff. That, you see, I think it was Turgim Trungpa who said, whatever happens now in your mind, and you're aware of it, that is Dharma practice. So everything can become Dharma practice, but you have to be aware of it. You have to watch, you know, you have to see. Even, you know, me with the movies sometimes, you know, you watch a movie knowing that it's not beneficial, that's Dharma practice. Because knowing it's not beneficial without guilt and without shame, and being able to admit it also, it will lessen the habit. But going from a strong habit to no habit, we can forget. It won't happen. So we have to be very, very skillful with our habits and listen to these verses. And this is why I love Shantideva. Every time I take him, every time I look at him, and maybe I just one verse sometimes. I open the book somewhere, one verse, and it brings me exactly to the spot where I am and going, yeah, this is what I want. I mean, such a nice practice book. You know, he really tells us what to do. If you know what you want, if you want liberation and enlightenment for the benefit of all, if you just want to have a pleasant life, don't read Shantideva. There's no point. You will just feel guilty. And never forget, it takes a long time to get where we want to get. It takes a long time, but it's okay. It doesn't matter. Okay, next verse. Without indulging in despondency, I should gather the supports for enthusiasm and earnestly take control of myself. Then by seeing the equality between self and others, I should practice exchanging self for others. Do you remember at the beginning, like a few verses above, he talks about the laziness of not thinking about death and future lives, like not wanting to think about this, that prevents us from practicing. The second one here is the laziness of being attached to frivolous amusements and not seeing that they are frivolous. It's enough to call them frivolous. It's no good to kind of cook up a wrong Dharma motivation that deep down you know is not honest. Do you see what I mean? Or what do you think? This is another habit that we have, you know, to bend it in such a way that it looks like Dharma, but deep down we know it's not Dharma. This is danger. This is the danger. You know, when we see, okay, I'm doing this now, I know it's frivolous. So may I be able to be free from being attached to these stupid things? And then slowly it will lessen. But if we go, oh, I need to watch this now because I don't feel well. And if I watch it or whatever, if I do it, then I feel better and then I'm more pleasant to others. This could be true. But whether it's true or not, you're the only one who knows. You're the only ones. You can't ask anybody else. This is why, again, awareness and, hey, am I really honest here? Yeah. Okay, so what were we saying? Oh, see, this is my short-term memory, I tell you. I keep telling you anyway, until you believe me that it's really going. Okay, that's what I wanted to say. So the second kind of laziness is these frivolous amusements, being attached to them. Then the third kind of, the third type of that is not trusting, our Buddha potential, kind of not having. In despondency means you have no self-confidence. Okay, like, you know, we have so many excuses not to practice the Dharma. Yeah. Like, for example, we say, oh, how should somebody like me ever become a Buddha? Have you ever had this thought? So, Geshe-ma Kelsang Wangmo in December will teach on this beautiful text, which is called Uttara Tantra, where Maitreya Buddha and the Sangha, they explain in such a beautiful way why everybody has Buddha potential, nobody can ever lose it, and everybody can become a Buddha. Nobody has to, but everybody can become a Buddha. So your excuse, oh, why should somebody like me ever become a Buddha? Yeah, of course, not in this life, and maybe not next life, but at one point, you know, it says in the next verse, I think, there is a sutra where the Buddha kind of claimed that everybody will become fully awakened because this is our potential that we can never lose. So this is what we have to strengthen by connecting to that yearning to be well. Again and again and again and again. To really affirm to ourselves, this is what I want. I want to be free from under the control of my kind of wrong views of seeing things outside, separate from my mind, of not understanding that things exist, yes, but they don't exist the way that they appear. They exist as a dependent arising. In order for this, I'm looking at the lamp now here. in order for this to be a lamp, it needs parts and particles. It needs a function. It needs a name, lamp, and it needs a mind who calls it lamp, merely labeled. Then it becomes a lamp, only then. Without the label, it's not a lamp. In Hebrew, it will be something different. Without the parts, it will not be a lamp. Without the mind who calls it lamp, it will not be a lamp. There's no lamp to be found anywhere. And the same thing goes for our ego, for our I, for our me. And this also, I know that some of you watch on Sunday evenings. So, you know, it's good to hear these teachings again and again and again and again. The hardships of hearing the same thing again and again and again. And to understand how difficult it is to understand emptiness directly. Can you remember somebody asked Chado Rinpoche at one point, how can I, so I, you know, this goes a bit faster and this goes a bit quicker. You know, what are the causes? The first thing he said, devotion to a teacher. Devotion to a guru that you constantly make supplication. Please inspire me, please bless me to be able to understand emptiness directly. That's what he said as the first cause. Then, of course, study, hearing the teachings, thinking about them, meditating on them again and again and again. Observe what your mind is telling you, and then check whether this is true or not. Often it's not true. We don't need to check that far. So the low self-confidence, if you have the thought, how can somebody like me ever become a Buddha? You know, then you go back to yourself and say, hey, I'm studying and practicing Dharma. Why? Because I'm inspired by these people like His Holiness the Dalai Lama. Where's my trust when they say that everybody can become a Buddha? And then, you know, and then to see how you made progress on this path, how your life would be if you wouldn't have the time. Okay? This is how we and then like Noah, you know, it hurts not to say something, or it hurts not to do something, and you succeed, and then you feel joy. And I say, wow, this is true. Yeah. You can object if you want. You can, because this is still supposed to be a discussion group. I should gather the supports for enthusiasm. We have to take our whole strength. So, you know, if you resources, energy, interest, if it goes to frivolous amusements, we don't have enough strength. So it was very funny when Geshe Tashi was teaching on this. Where is it? Because I wrote it down. And what the Tibetans say to this verse. So he says 4 things that for this verse here, verse 16, 4 things that will be useful. When you have a long-term project and the progress is very slow, like losing weight, this is very challenging, not easy not to eat all the delicious food and to do the exercise. So what you need is perseverance and really wanting it and to see the benefit. So he says when a long-term project and the progress is very, very slow, very quickly we give up or we think we do something wrong. And then in Tibetan they say, this is like, it's a kind of attitude, like when your leg, when this muscle here is very weak, you know, you can't walk anymore. So you have to strengthen that muscle if you want to go climbing or running or whatever. So how do we strengthen the Dharma muscle? It's by thinking about death and dying. It can come any moment. It's by thinking what we really want, liberation and enlightenment. And it's by thinking about, but I want to be of benefit to others. I don't want to harm them. I do harm them, but not because I want. Okay? This is how we strengthen that muscle, by telling ourselves again and again and again why we are doing this. So he says, even if it's slow and challenging, just continue. It's very simple. It's very simple advice. You know, we progress very slowly on this path, but just continue. What can you lose? Then this one here, I should gather the supports. He says, whatever skills you need, like you have to get them. Awareness, mindfulness, patience, love for yourself, all these. These are the skills that we need for this path. And it has to be developed. So he says, when a country, in ancient times, when countries go to war, they bring all the men and weapons and all else that they would need. You know, they're not going unprepared. So we have to go prepared into this path with all the things we need. What do you think is lacking? You know, when it says, gather all your strengths, what is lacking? What do you think?
The motivation?
Okay, can you build a motivation?
I will not begin the practice without motivation.
Exactly, that's what I mean. So it's like, this is like, you know, blowing the horn and telling the men to come for the war. This is why it's so important, the motivation at the beginning and the dedication at the end. The motivation so that we know why we're doing this and we can bear the hardships, and the dedication so that we reaffirm to ourselves why we have done this, or why we're doing this, why we're bearing the pain. What else do you think you need? You see, this preparatory practices like refuge, bodhicitta, which is the motivation, then 7-limb prayer, then 4 immeasurables. Very often we see it as a waste of time, isn't it? But you have to build this into your practice before you start meditating, or at least after you meditate. Actually, again, because I'm really used to these 7 limbs and all this, and I have almost 2 hours of just, you know, reciting practices. But the first thing I do in the morning is without anything, because the motivation is already there. You know, the time comes when you know why you're meditating. You see what I mean? Yeah, I mean, you're not sitting down and then there's no pleasure in your meditation, and you go up and you stand up and you go like, oh, that was really bad meditation. You're past this point to try to find pleasure and happiness in the meditation. Yeah, you know that you are meditating because you want to understand emptiness. For that, you need a mind that is calm and clear and relaxed, and this is why you're meditating. And this motivation is in, isn't it? Still, even the Dalai Lama, before he starts something, he says the refuge prayer, he says the bodhicitta prayer. They do the 7 limbs and so. Yeah, and I know Geshe-ma is doing that with you as well. Okay, that's very good. But it's, you know, it's not much point just going blah 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 blah. Also with the refuge and bodhicitta, this is why I'm trying. I'm not saying I'm better, you know, but I am trying to put it into maybe other words, because otherwise we become like a parrot. I go for refuge until I'm enlightened to the Buddha, Dharma, and the Sangha. You know, by practicing generosity and so forth, may I become a Buddha to benefit all sentient beings, or even worse, you know, the mind is somewhere totally else. Of course, the mind can be there when you do this, but you have to make sure that the mind is there. Yeah, so when you put it in your own words, when you meditate or when you do a practice, why am I doing this? You know, then to feel that yearning that we have to be well. This is refuge. This is the resultant refuge, to take refuge in that Buddha potential that we have. Okay. Then, so that was the second one, and then we have to finish one. Then, I should gather the supports for enthusiasm, which is thinking about death and dying, thinking about the result, reading the first chapter again and again, you know, having contact with inspiring people that inspire you, and you say, oh, I want to become like them. This is gathering all the supports. Then I earnestly take control of myself. Means, and this hurts, saying no to our klesha as much as we can, even if we are about to explode, maybe only once a day. When we give in, okay, we've given in. But to say, for the next 5 minutes, I'm not going to do this for an hour or whatever, and then you expand the time. Make an effort, even if it's tough and difficult. And the consistency is so important that we're not giving up because we're failing. And we go, okay, I try again. I have many examples, like if you want to cut a big tree, you need to always hit in the same spot, so that at one point the tree will fall. If you hit once here and then here and then here, and then again you go away, and like it's not working. So, the more you apply yourself, the more you bring joy to this whole exercise here that we're doing, and the more you bring your humor also. Come on, don't get so, oh, this is so difficult. Then this whole thing about, the despondency, I can't do this, I'm not good enough, and all this, it's such a hindrance. We think this is humility. This is not humility. It's stupid. It doesn't get you anywhere. And you don't have to become arrogant. You don't need to compare yourself with somebody else. You just say, hey, come on, I can do this because other people can do this as well. I don't need to say, oh, I'm better than this other. That is arrogant. Yeah, so make an effort, even if it's tough and difficult. Consistency is a very important part of the spiritual journey. And then you exchange yourself with others. I should practice exchanging self for others. So actually this practice of exchanging self for others comes in the 8th chapter, but he keeps preparing us for that. In the 6th chapter is a lot about equanimity, not to get angry, not to get attached. Yeah, especially not to get angry with own patients, not to get angry with the people who harm us, so that then we can practice bodhicitta. Yeah, because if you're angry at somebody, there's no way you can have compassion for that person at the same time. So he brings it here already again, to prepare ourselves. So maybe to finish, maybe this is your homework. Tonglen, practice exchanging self for others. Not all the time, but when you think, when you see that you are, not just mentally doing it, but actually doing it. When you think that if I give to this other person now what they want, and it's not harmful for them, even though I don't want to give it, I will give it. For example, it can be time, it can be kindness, it can be money, it can be invite them for dinner or whatever, or accepting an invitation. You see, when, oh, I'm too tired, I don't want to go there. You think, no, they invited me, they would like me to have at their, do it. Once is not enough in 7 days. Oh, you have 2 weeks because next week is no, because I'm not here, right? Next week is no class. Try to integrate that, putting others, exchange yourself with others. Like also exchanging yourself with others is like, put yourself on the other person's spot. If I invite somebody for dinner, how would I like to behave? How would I like to be treated? Sorry, Would I like this person to come, or do I want the person to say no? Not all the time. Don't exhaust yourself. Don't, push your borders a little bit, that's fine. But do not, don't exaggerate. Just, you understand what I mean? Or what do you think? Exchange yourself with others next 2 weeks. Whenever you can, when it's not harmful for you, hurting, pain is okay. That's not harmful. When it's not harmful for your karma, and when it's not harmful for the karma of the other person. What do you think? Good idea? If you can't do it physically, there's the ambulance passing. Even here, there's ambulances passing. If you can't do it, see, when you hear an ambulance, then you go like, oh, May it not be so bad. May they be helped. May the helpers have the strength and the courage and all this. This is kind of not just, oh, an ambulance, but going a little bit further, going a little bit deeper. Somebody is sick. Somebody needs to go to hospital. May they find the help they need. Something like that. Kind thoughts. Instead of just, oh, an ambulance. And then it becomes a habit, and we send love and we send compassion. Or, you know, when you breathe in, you think, oh, I'm taking the suffering, the nervousness, the frustration, the pain. And when we give out, we give them relief and support. The doctors, the nurses, and the patients, and the ambulance drivers, and like that.
I want to share that my children, every time that they hear an ambulance, they say, Oma, 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 Om. They are used to it. Ambulance or a crash, a car crash.
Right. Yeah, or a dead animal that's been been by a car also. Just a few thoughts about the good rebirth of that animal. Or Mani Padme Hum.
I didn't
Whatever.
understand
You know, it doesn't matter what you say. Huh?
I'm sorry, I didn't understand what Neta's children say when they hear an ambulance.
They say Oma Hum, which is a little bit like a mantra. It doesn't really matter what they say. It's like the mantra of Chenrezig is Om Mani Padme Hum, but it's okay. They say Oma Hum, and are convinced that it's generating positive energy because there's compassion behind it, right? So see, already the kids are doing. Yeah, and then, you know, after a while, it becomes automatic. And then the mind is not there anymore, which is said. And then we need to bring the motivation back or the mind back. When we feel, oh, it's becoming like a robot. I see a dead animal. I just go, Om Mani Padme Hum, and to bring the motivation back. Okay. So again, you have plenty of things to rejoice about by exchanging yourself for others. Would be nice if we can share some stories after 2 weeks. And you know, kind of in German we say to jump over your shadow. You say the same thing in Hebrew, because very often German and Hebrew, they say the same things. Okay, when you do something that you don't really want to do, in German it's called you jump over your shadow. Über den eigenen Schatten springen. So you feel like, ooh, I don't feel like it. And you go, hey, exercise, you know, again, not a duty. It's just training. It's just an exercise. Try to do it with joy and with enthusiasm. Oh, now I can practice. Then it doesn't become so heavy. But be careful. Yeah, don't overdo it. Okay, so we dedicate all the positive energy that we have generated today by discussing these. Again, you know, I wanted to do 4 or 5 verses. I think we did 2, but it's okay. We have plenty of time. So by discussing these 2 verses, by discussing what is meaningful, what is meaningless, may we ourselves, may we be able to bring this beautiful potential to the potential that we have to the surface more and more, and our practice will become more and more joyful, and we can be already now of more and more benefit to others without burning out, without fear, without holding back, and then at the end lead all beings to full awakening. May all our inspiring teachers have long, healthy, and stable life. And in all my lives, may I always meet magnificent Dharma. You know, may I meet inspiring teachers and quickly complete the stages of this path and attain the state of Vajradhara. Whenever you feel suffering, immediately the thought, I am not the only one. That is Tonglen. When you think, I am not the only one, and your heart opens. Okay, have 2 good weeks, and we continue with verse 17. If we're all still alive in 2 weeks, or you feel like continuing. And thank you for joining. Thank you, Noah, for being my host.
Thank you, Anila.
Thank you for joining, and please do take care.
Thank you.
Thank you
Thank
very
you
much.
very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you.
You're very welcome. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
ערב טוב לכולם.
ערב טוב, להתראות.
להתראות.
תודה לכולם.